Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of Recruit Military Live, where we will be discussing leveraging your military experience to heighten your reputation. My name, as always, is Gabby Petticrew, and I'm joined today by my amazing co-host, Raul Torres. How's it going your way, Raul?
Hey, Gabby, going good. Very excited today. Our guest is somebody that I see very, very often at our job fairs, and he just let me know today that he's going to be going to Dallas tomorrow. So that's always great news. He's always crushing it, always giving great opportunities to those job seekers at career fairs. So happy to have him today. He's a Richmond, Virginia native, husband, proud father of 3 boys. He retired from the U.S. Army after 20 years of faithful service. During his enlistment, he served in a multitude of billets to include law enforcement, military intelligence, and recruiting. And since his transition to the civilian sector, he's continued his great service to this nation as a talent sourcing specialist with Altec Industries. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming LaQuane Daniel. Welcome, LaQuane. How you doing, brother?
I am doing amazing, guys. How y'all doing?
Awesome, fantastic. Last we heard from what you told us, you were taking the rest of the year at home. You were chilling. And then we hear not even a week later, it's literally been like 4 days. And he's like, nah, they got me going to Dallas.
Yeah, things change. Opportunities open up.
Hey, but we know if they want anyone at those career fairs representing Altec, it is you, good sir. How are you doing this wonderful afternoon where y'all are?
I'm doing fantastic, Gabby. Thank you guys for having me on. Super excited about the opportunity.
Of course, yeah, no, we're extremely excited to hear from your perspective when it comes to ways that members of the military community can leverage their skill sets that they get from the military or they build upon once they entered and exit the military. And from your perspective, ways that you've seen that, really take off and make a difference, whether it's coming across your desk on a paper resume, whether it's in person at a career fair, or working within Altec and working alongside military members, you being a veteran yourself and seeing how much that really makes a difference, having that military experience right there on the ground, that real world experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many different aspects to consider when you're talking about, transition, those who already transitioned out and now they're veterans. And what I mean by, things to consider, location of opportunities. The opportunities and the company and culture aligning with one's own, personal and professional goals. So I think there's so many different things to consider, but I think certainly the points that we'll talk about today, I think if they're, if they are considered and implemented, I think a lot of our military community who's listening today and who will come across these points will find that they are very much helpful and very much beneficial.
Absolutely. And if we want to kick it off with a very important one, a very popular one, very first thing that people think about when it comes to making that transition and translating those skills is your resume. So let's go into some pointers. And if you want to take a moment and remind everyone what the purpose of a resume is, what is your main goal when translating those skills onto paper?
So first of all, overall, right, the resume, just consider the resume like your 10-second elevator pitch. Imagine yourself, going into an elevator with the CEO or even a recruiter, right, from the company that you eagerly desire to be employed with. And think about, hey, you're going from the first floor to the 4th floor, and that's about as much time as you have to kind of introduce yourself and essentially let that person know what kind of added value, right, that you bring to the table. That's about what your resume is. It's that 10-second elevator pitch. And I think the way to best craft a resume, and there's so many different aspects when it comes to resume. Everybody's thinking like,
Mhm.
oh man, keywords, ATS tracking system. These are all buzzwords that I'm sure we've all heard of. But I've really found that in the past, in those who I've helped with their resume, I always tell them, you got to be a resume chef, right? You got to be a resume chef. And what I mean by that is, everybody crafts a resume, right? And the hiring teams of, said company, they desire a specific, meal, right? If you will. And so the more you can become a resume chef and understand what the hiring team wants, then you can craft your resume, right, as that meal. So, for example, if you look at a job description, on any company's website, that's essentially that team telling you, hey, I like to eat steak, right? Here's the steak that I want to eat, right? And
Mhm.
so oftentimes what we do is, as veterans, as the military community, like we'll craft a delicious plate of spaghetti and then serve it up and then hope that they eat it, right?
Nice and
And
steady.
so we put all this grandiose stuff of everything that we did, in the military, etc., in a resume, and then we put it in front of the hiring team and we hope that they eat it. No, if you take a look at the job description and take a look at, what essentially they're asking for, while it may be the bare minimum, nonetheless, there's still a lot of clues in that job description that you can take a hold of and say, okay, well, if they're looking for, 2 years, 4 years of experience, I'm going to make sure that in my resume, I'm notifying them what kind of experience that I have. If
Mhm.
they're looking for, specific IT experience, I'm going to make sure that I put in my resume, that I have that specific IT experience. So your resume needs to talk to that job description. Your resume needs to talk to that team and says, hey, this is why I'm the person that you're looking for. But, if you craft a resume of all this great stuff that you've done in your career and you're hoping that, that recruiter or that hiring team, looks at your resume and they're going to do the sifting and putting the pieces together to find out whether you're the right person, that's not it, right? Again,
Mhm.
you just gave them a great plate of spaghetti when they were looking for a steak. So what does the hiring team do? They send that resume back to the recruiter and say, hey, I don't know why you sent this to me. This is the wrong order, right? Go find me what I'm
Mhm.
looking for. So let's become those resume chefs, guys and gals, and you'll find out that you'll get a lot more interaction from those companies when it comes to your resume.
And
Hey,
that's
Michelle.
phenomenal. That's
I love it. I was gonna say, hey, Michelle, I'm getting ready to get second breakfast on my end
right.
as well. You just telling the people to cook. I love that.
And that's it. And it's what Michelle is saying is you want to make people hungry, right? You want to show them what you bring to the table. And you're like, yeah, I want that for dessert. I want that for my main entree, even the appetizer. And this is one thing I love about our lives is we talk about resumes quite a bit in many different aspects, how to put them together, different types of resumes, but everyone has their own analogies, and comparisons to what a resume is. I love that you kind of like, broke down a resume as, there's your summary could be the appetizer. Your main course is all the experience, all the details, all the plate, what you bring to the table, right? And then that dessert for afterwards is, she has a master's in business communication. Oh, she has these certifications. Num num num. All these awesome little bites afterwards. You're like, you know what? I could go for dessert. Like, yes. And just like Michelle Sharp mentioned on LinkedIn, you were making her hungry. That's another great analogy is you want that employer to look at that resume and be like, yeah, that's what I want right there.
Yeah, and something that I've done on my end that kind of helps. This is just some advice for those listening out there. You can keep a master resume, just literally of everything you've ever done. Like keep it in one Word doc, master resume of every single bullet point for every single job you have, so that when you do look at a job description, a listing that you're interested in, you can then take from that master list and just pluck those little appetizers, pluck the main courses and just move them on over to like an actual resume that you'd want to upload for this specific job. So that's something that I've done in the past, and it's worked out very well. And I wanted to point out, I think in your intro, LaQuane, we mentioned that I see you often at our career fairs, right? You're always, I think we end up talking like maybe for half an hour every single time about just like the state of the, job seekers and just veteran hiring in general. But I wanted to ask you, what things do you see that stand out to you? Job seekers coming up to you and asking you questions about the culture, job seekers coming up to you asking about just random questions about the company, job seekers coming up to you with no idea what you do at all. What do you see works? What do you see should be improved on at career fairs?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the biggest thing that like really warms my heart with candidates that I interact with at career fairs, and it's the ones that actually took a few minutes to put in the work to go to our careers website, right? Take a look at our different opportunities that we have available, and then come up to the table, of course, and introduce themselves, but they have that specific conversation, that they want to have about that particular job that they researched. Hey, Q, nice to meet you. Went on your careers website. I found this job out in Dallas. Me and my family, we're planning on transitioning out there. I really want to talk about this particular job, right? That makes for a much more effective interaction. It leaves a much better impression. And I think the candidate gets a lot more information, right, about a specific opportunity that they're interested in, as opposed to walking up to the table and saying, hey, here's who I am. Tell me about Altec. What is it that Altec does, or what is it that, listen, if you want to know, in this case, what Altec does, just go to the careers website, right? And look at the About Us section. That's not a question that you have to drive all the way down to a stadium, to make, a face-to-face connection with, to ask about, right? It's a career fair. There's, 300-400 people at a career fair. And I will tell you that while it might be ideal to think that I want to try and build a relationship with, the representative of a company, think about the 15 or other 20 people standing behind you that's also waiting to ask some questions, right? So at those career fairs, you want to go prepared. You want to look at, the organizations that are going to be there. You want to take a look at their opportunities on their careers website. You want to annotate some opportunities that are open so that when you go to that career fair, number one, you have some specific opportunity to talk about. And then number two, if you walk into that career fair and there's 30, 40, 80 different employers there, if you don't walk out with 30, 40, or 80 different connections that are now added to your LinkedIn, I think you did yourself a disservice. Because oftentimes you probably walked up to that table and said, hey, my name is so-and-so, what job opportunities that you have. They explain their company, they explain their job opportunities, you shake hands and you part ways. Well, that's one missed network connection. And then you do that 80 more times, and all you did was walk out of a career fair with a bag full of swag that you took off of tables. It's not going to get you a job. And also, now you walked away from 80 different people, essentially, that could have had somebody in their network or themselves that could have connected you to a great opportunity. So let's be a little bit more effective at those career fairs when you go.
I love it, man. And I harp on that point so much when we do a kickoff speech right as the job fair is kicking off. We let them know, hey, there's just so many opportunities out there. And the main reason you're here today is, because you could have applied online, but you came here in person to make that connection. So that should be at the top of your list, to make that connection. And I wanted to ask you, how often do individuals like maybe kind of double take and then keep walking, and maybe you stop them, right? If I'm a job seeker and I have no idea who Altec is, and I'm just walking and I kind of look over there because I see LaQuane is giving me the eye, probably wondering why that person's not stopping by to talk. How often do you stop those individuals? And, if they had kept walking and didn't stop by to talk to Altec, how many times do you find yourself saying, hey, we actually have some positions in the industry that you're looking for?
Yeah. Quite often. Like you said, it's that eye contact, and it's like, hey, I'm not talking to anybody. You're not talking to anybody. Like, let's talk, right? So oftentimes I give you a perfect example. At Altec, we manufacture utility trucks, and oftentimes people will walk by my table. They'll see Altec, they'll see the logo, they'll see the utility trucks, the mocked up utility trucks sitting on the table, and they will keep on walking. And I'll stop them and say, hey, what opportunities are you looking for? Why did you come here today? And to come to find out, they have an operations background, or they have a sales background, and I say, well, let me ask you, why didn't you stop and talk with me? And the biggest response that I get is, oh, I saw the utility trucks, and that's not my jam. Like, I didn't think that you guys had anything that aligned. Well, come to find out, like, think about any corporate company. Every single corporate company has operations positions. Every single company has IT positions. Every single company has finance, accounting. Like, these are your
communications, all of it.
Right. If you think about your basic functions of any corporate company, it's just like the military. You have a bunch of different jobs that support one organization, right? So it's the same thing with the corporate companies. So, next time you're at a career fair, don't just look at the table and say, I don't think that's my jam. If you are an HR professional, guess what? Name me a corporate company that doesn't have an HR function, right? So don't miss out on an opportunity because you have that initial judgment that, this is a computer company, or this is a construction company, or this is that company. Well, guess what? Inside that construction company, inside that tech company, is a myriad of functions that may align, with the opportunities that you're looking for. So great question, Raul.
Absolutely. And that's exactly, I think, at the last career fair job fair that I attended here in Phoenix, there was a first sergeant in the Marine Corps who was getting ready to get out, dressed like 3-piece suit, just dressed to the nines, phenomenal. And he was there to meet, I think, with, a couple government agencies and one or two individuals out of like 70 employers, and was on his way out. And, I caught him and was like, oh, did you, have a good time, like good experience? You had to talk to everyone. And he's like, yeah, I hit up the one or two. And I was like, and he happened to not get there in time to hear the kickoff speech, Raul, and hear all the great advice and words of wisdom that you have for all of our job seekers. And I let him know, I was like, hey, like you never know what opportunity is behind what handshake. And it's exactly what LaQuane said. Do not do yourself a disservice by going through with that tunnel vision, only speaking to that one or two employers that you saw in the exhibitor list. And they're like, okay, I got those connections, I'm deucing out. And, I talked to him up. I think we ended up talking for like 45 minutes, talking about all the Marine Corps fun stuff, and then sent him back inside, back into the pit to go speak to more employers. And, after 30 more minutes, he came back out and was like, you know what, thank you. I appreciate that. I actually did have a couple more great conversations, got some great contacts, and going to be following up with them today. And boom, that's it. It just takes just opening, reminding them like there are so many more opportunities out there. Do not limit yourself, especially when it comes to an event like this, where there's so many opportunities at every table. You just don't know what those are.
Absolutely.
And I think that goes perfectly and translates right into the next step. So say, you did that resume, you did all of that translating onto paper. You went to a career fair, a job fair, representative yourself in person, ask those questions that you're not able to get answered doing that research online, right? Represented yourself, worked on that elevator pitch, and say you landed that job. In your experience, LaQuane, being a service member, being a veteran, and then also working alongside veterans, working with an amazing company like Altec that values veterans as well. How do you see like the difference just in performance, or what it is that the military community brings to the table when it comes to working in the civilian sector?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest thing is that I think we can all relate as military community in general, whether you're a military spouse or whether you're transitioning, etc. In the military, we wear a lot of hats, right? We do a lot of things. We cross train a lot, right? So I think that the fact that we kind of condition ourselves to have that ability to learn different jobs, learn different aspects of, whatever function that we're doing. Don't lose that mindset, right? When you go into the civilian sector, yes, they do hire you, right, for a specific role often, but it's the one that shows that initiative to want to learn more of the business. They want to learn different aspects of the business. That shows a growth mindset. That shows that you want to be a part of the fabric of the company, right? Instead of just focusing on your 10-meter target, just focusing on your job that's in front of you. Take the opportunities. If the company is allowing you to cross train and learn different aspects of the business, consider that. You did it in the military, consider doing it in the civilian sector, because let's just say you're on a project at work and that project comes to a completion, and now because you're a one-trick pony, right, if you will. Now it's like, well, we'd like to offer you another job, but we don't know what skills you have. Like, we don't know what we don't know where else you would fit. But it's the one who's showing initiative and showing the leadership. I could fit anywhere, right? You guys hired me for this job, and I've already proven to you that I can knock this job out the park, no problem. Now I want to go to my leadership and I want to let them know, hey, look, I have some more skills. I can bring some more things to the table. Is there any other projects that you need me to jump on? Right. You're just showing that proactiveness, right? To be, number one, be a part of the team, but also you want to show yourself as a proactive and taking that initiative to learn different aspects of the business.
And I would say on the flip side, the numbers point to veterans leaving companies within like 1 or 2 years because they don't get that opportunity to kind of showcase everything, and they're just stuck in that one-trick pony kind of box where they can't do anything else. So it is super important before you get hired, you do ask those questions to the to the company during that hiring process, just figuring out, hey, this is what the job entails, but does the company culture allow me to have more opportunity outside of my job and billet, if you will? So that's something that goes both ways, but it is very important and does fall on the job seeker to ask those questions. Even starting at the hiring event, making sure talking to the recruiter about, hey, what were you hired for originally, and like how long have you been at the company? Where are you now? How do you feel about it? So those are the really hard-hitting questions that will change the game from you just finding a job, any old job, because you're transitioning out, to, hey, maybe you just found yourself a 10-year career, or 15, 20 plus till you retire, who knows? But it does start with asking those questions. So
yeah, absolutely. And one, you mentioned, kind of taking a step back, I think one of the biggest, one of the, I think one of the most powerful connections that we have that I think are underutilized, right? Is core values. As military, the military community, we all have core values. Either, you know, after we joined the military, we adopted the military's core values, or to some extent, you had your own personal, you know, core values before you joined the military. But here's the, you know, here's the pro tip. Again, I want to encourage you to not lose the value of core values. Core values, I think, play a huge role in retention within a company, and also to one's own happiness inside of a company. Because the core values are something that are near and dear to everybody's heart. You know, whatever the core values are, you either have your personal or professional core values. It's kind of your character, it's kind of your genetic makeup. And you know, when it comes to the power of core values, I'll give you an example. If you work at a company, and let's just say one of your core values is integrity, right? You are a person of your word. You know, you believe that, hey, my word is my bond. You believe in doing the right thing when nobody's looking. You are a person of integrity. Let's say you get hired with a company that pays you the salary that you ask for. You know, they give you the days off that you ask for. They give you the benefit package that you ask for. Everything seems wonderful and great. But then you start working for that company. And now you find out every decision that the people you work around, your leadership, every decision that you make, it is evident that they want you to violate that integrity. They want you to compromise that integrity. How much longer are you going to stay at that company? I would imagine not long, because the core values have nothing to do with the salary. It has nothing to do with the benefits. It has nothing to do with the work. It has everything to do with what is near and dear to your heart. So if your core values don't align with a company and vice versa, then here's maybe what you will find or have found if you're already out in the workforce. If your core values don't align with the company's, then you may feel like there's something that you need to change about yourself to fit in with everybody in the culture that, you know, that the company has created. Or B, to some extent, you feel like everybody that works around you and works with you, they should change what they believe and how they feel to make you feel welcome to the team. Well, I can tell you that neither one of those situations typically ever play out. You are who you are, and they are who they are, right? So when you find a company that has those core values aligned, now you feel natural. Now you feel like you can be yourself. Now you feel like you're actually part of the company fabric, right? You feel like you are part of the family. Because let's be honest, I think we all have that family member that, yeah, they're family, but I definitely choose not to be around them, right? I try and avoid them at every turn. Well, I
Thanksgiving.
I, I think that's the feeling that one gets when those core values just don't align, right? Yet you can't make yourself want to be a part of something that naturally you just don't want to be a part of, right? So if during that interview, even before that interview, you know, at that career fair, if you're not asking that representative, hey, you know, what are your guys' core values? What's close and near dear to the company's heart? If you're not at least asking that question, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice, right? And you probably won't find out what the core values are or lack thereof, or the company culture, until you actually accept a job offer. That honeymoon phase wears off, that I call it, right? Where you've accepted a job offer, you're happy, you're excited, right? Now the dust settles, and now you start looking around and you're like, oh my goodness, this is not what I had in mind. Well, if you had asked that question, you know, some of those more important questions up front, you could have got a better feel and made a, you know, maybe made a better choice for yourself as far as your career.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, we get it. We understand, especially, with the way the economy is and the just locking down a great job. You're just excited and happy to have gotten a position, landed that job, and made a successful transition into the civilian sector. That maybe didn't think to ask these very hard-hitting questions that will come back and affect your performance at that organization. Or say this conversation is about leveraging your military skill sets and how to do that within the civilian sector. But if you don't have the opportunity, if you don't ask the question, is there going to be room for growth within this organization, within this company? If you didn't ask that, and now you're in the position where like, hey, you're going to be stuck in this position for the next 10 years with no room for growth, or no, there isn't any way to cross train with other departments. That's something that you're going to have to figure out now since you've reached that bridge. So it's exactly like you said, do not do yourself a disservice. Ask. That's what these lives are for, to bring up these questions that maybe you wouldn't have considered in that one-to-one, that face-to-face conversation with an employer or a recruiter. Think about things from a different perspective and help your future self out down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this was definitely like, I love that I always learn something from these lives, even, with us hosting however many there have been, there's always a new nugget of information. And now I'm going to take utilizing and, referencing a resume as a 3-course meal forever now. Like, I'm never going to not do that. I'm going to talk about the appetizer, the main course, and the dessert. So, LaQuane, thank you so much again for bringing all these words of wisdom and really these great pieces of advice to our audience. Are there any parting words that you have for our military community, for those military spouses that are just going through the struggle, can't seem to get that piece, that it factor? Is there anything that you have when it comes to talking about how to leverage yourself?
I would say, just stay positive. I know it's kind of cliche, but just don't count yourself out. Don't count an opportunity out just because it doesn't maybe ideally look like what you think it should look like. I will tell you that my time here at Altec did not look like I thought it would look like, right? Because number one, I had never heard anything about Altec. I saw all of their trucks right out there in their function, but I never understood. I never knew that Altec right was the one who made those trucks. So if I were just basing my career path off of what Altec does or who Altec is, I may have passed up on the opportunity, right? But the one big thing that connected me with Altec was their core values, right? That was what drew me in, because I figured if my core values align with theirs and vice versa, then maybe there's a better chance that the relationship between me and this employer will go past a relationship of just me and an employer. Right. Oftentimes it's a rinse and repeat, right? I get up, I go to work, they pay me, I get off of work, I don't want to have anything else to do with the company. That is not what I think the military community is looking for. The military community is looking for, I want to be just as, or if not more successful than I was in the military. And that's where again, where I think those core values come into play, because it gives you an opportunity to kind of showcase everything that you want to, that you bring to the table. Because, if you find an organization that has an ear to you, right? They value you, they value your skills, they want to know your ideas, they want to implement them. That's what makes it all feel like you're part of the team, right? But if you go into an organization and it's, hey, this is just the way we've been doing things, this is the way we always been doing things, and we don't think it's going to change. Well, you're coming in with a fresh perspective and it's getting shut down. Well, you're not gonna stay there long, right? So the 10-second is really, find an organization that aligns with your core values. Don't discount it because it's a construction industry or it's because that industry, the job is the job, right? Like you can be taught to do the job, right? But it's those core values that if they align, like I said, you'll find yourself in a much better position, so that you don't find yourself job hopping. Because the last thing that I'll say about job hopping is, listen, I know we're all trying to figure it out, and I know we're all trying to feel our way through. But what you don't want to do is paint yourself on a piece of paper called a resume as a job hopper. You don't want to look at your resume and in 2 years, you've changed your job 6 times because you're just trying to figure it out. While that may be the reality, that's not how the next hiring team may receive that, right?
And you don't want to go through that either. You want to be one and done, you know, you don't want that for yourself either.
Yes. So if anybody, you know, I'm available, you know, to anybody, to all of our military community, you know, let's connect on LinkedIn. You know, everything that I spoke about here, I'm way, you know, all open to you know, assisting our military community in the best way that I possibly can.
Absolutely. And just like Cody said, the Ox is in the building. He's about to exit the building. But if you were, you know, got to tune in for the last 30, 35 minutes, some amazing words of wisdom. And just like he said, please do follow him on LinkedIn, because he's constantly talking about, you know, the career fairs and events that he's hopping to, but also all the amazing things that Altec is doing for not only him in his position, but for the entire military community. So thank you again so much, LaQuane, for coming on here and imparting some wisdom. I'm sure it won't be the last time we have you on. And we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely. You too. See you in Dallas, Ra. And Gabby, I'll see you at the next Phoenix career fair. And you guys make sure you follow Gabby and Raul too. They're a wealth of knowledge, and they're super amazing individuals. You know, thank you guys so much for the opportunity, to you and the Recruit Military team. Shout out to you all.
Absolutely. I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
All right.
At the event.
Absolutely.
And thank you everyone for joining us for today's episode of Recruit Military Live, and we'll see you next time.